So is it harder to forgive someone else, someone you know, someone you don't know? Or is it harder to forgive yourself? Most people that I have talked to say number one is it's harder to forgive themselves. And then it's kind of split. People who say it's harder to forgive someone you know versus someone you don't know. And the ones who say it's harder to forgive someone you don't know, it's because there's no face. It's a stranger, and it's hard to have a context of who this person is. Even, and a lot of times it's someone anonymous, um, versus like a family member or a friend who has betrayed you, even if it was unintentional. You know, it's harder to forgive the ones you didn't expect the betrayal from. Whereas a stranger, sometimes just the way of the world, we expect to be betrayed by a complete stranger, and sometimes it is easier to forgive them. But all in all, like I said, most people find it harder to forgive themselves. And using agapitude, where do we start? We start by loving ourselves. We start by taking that inventory of the positives about us. What is it about me that is absolute good that I love? And if we have a hard time finding that, maybe think about people we trust and what have they said about what they love about us. I know for myself, when I've had friends tell me, "Oh, Craig, you're this or you're that." At first, I had a hard time believing it because I thought, no, that's just the bare minimum that everyone should do, and it's when in reality, what it is I believe it's the bare minimum for me. And so, for example, someone say, "Craig, you were so kind." I don't see it as kindness. I just see it as the golden rule. That's the way I want to be treated, is kindly. And and trust me, there are times I am not kind, and I regret those moments. So when I'm thinking about loving myself, I have a hard, that thought is what crops up, not the hundreds of times I've been kind to others, but the one time I was unkind in the past 24 hours. And I'm probably being harder on myself. Most people are harder on themselves than they are on others. And that's another reason why it's so hard to forgive ourselves. So I encourage you, make that list of the things you love about yourself, the things other people love about you that maybe you don't believe yet, but you can put that to the test and say, okay, they say this about me. Is that true? I can continue looking for examples of when that is true. And yes, when those times crop up that contradict that belief, I can look at it in perspective of, okay, that was one time that I was unkind versus the 10 previous times that I was kind. And it didn't have to be huge acts of kindness. It could be a simple, everyday act of kindness, opening the door for someone, waving someone in traffic in front of you, smiling at someone. All these acts of kindness are very simple and very easy. And when I take a look at that with myself, it's a lot easier to love myself and forgive myself for the times that I am not kind to others or myself. And that's a whole nother video of a whole nother um, challenge I have for myself, is to be able to forgive myself when I have not been kind or loving towards myself. Peace.